Happy Monday, folks. Welcome back to #AskGSM here today for November 7th, 2016. I am Graham GSM Matthews, and every single Monday right here in this video forum, I answer your illustrious questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. No time to waste. My roommate left a lot later than I thought he would, so I don't have as much time today to answer all your questions. I will be answering all of them. I'd have to rush through some of them, though, just because I got to get going in about a half hour, but... At any rate, here we go. From first Blue Wyatt to my brother Jason, a first here for the show. Actually, I think a second. He's done this before. Jason sent this question to me via text a couple days ago, so if you have my number, you can do that too if you want, but I assume most of you don't, nor should you. But at any rate, Jason's question was, favorite wrestling entrance themes of all time in your opinion? So keyword there being favorite, not best. My favorite themes consist of, and thank God I did not have to think too much for this question because I wrote it down elsewhere, like in a document or something here on my computer, of my favorite themes at some point for whatever reason. I think I was going to make a video blog about it. I might as well say it now. Tied for fifth, I got Batista and Jericho's. I love Batista's theme and I love Jericho's theme, so they might be tied for fifth. Fourth, Hogan, Hulk Hogan, Real American, one of the greatest entrance themes of all time. 3, the NWO. Actually, this is in no real specific order, but this is the way that I would list them. The NWO, of course, would be in the top 5. Christian, I don't know, I just love that theme. The second version, I know a lot of people love the waterproof blonde version, or whatever the artist's name is, but I love that version of it. And, of course, far and beyond number 1, CM Punk, Cult of Personality, not even close for other themes to be that number 1 slot. My favorite theme of all time, not even close. Prince 5835 from YouTube, his questions were, first one being, is it me or do a lot of wrestlers' entrances seem very generic? No, that is not only just you, not themes, and that was your second question. But for the first question, a lot of wrestlers just don't get pyro, and I talked about that last week. Maybe it's budget cuts, I don't know, but... yeah, most people nowadays just kind of walk out. I mean, not everyone can have like a Bray Wyatt entrance or something, but you would think it'd be a bit more, like a little bit more intricate or unique than just kind of coming out to a theme. I feel like the lack of Titantrons kind of, I don't know. I mean, I know Jason asked me this a couple weeks ago about the lack of Titantrons. I like the Titantrons, the entrance videos and shit like that. Now we just kind of get the name plastered on the set, which looks great. But, I don't know, I kind of missed the entrance videos. But at any rate, his second question was, speaking of entrances, why is WWE so cheap on getting actual bands to perform wrestlers' theme songs? Well, nowadays, I mean, and actually not even really nowadays, this has always kind of really been the case, where it does cost money for them to get outside bands, notable bands to do entrance themes. But it's a lot easier for them to pay, like, the CFO Moneys of the world, or the Jim Johnsons, or, get a stock theme or one of those generic-ass, rock band themes. Something like that's just the beat and no lyrics, those kind of themes. But CFO, they've been so closely associated with that band for so long, for about 3-4 years now, there really is no purpose in kind of going back to real bands, I think it's cool I think it's special when they do get a band to do an entrance theme, but I think for nowadays, nowadays they just have CFO money. And you can't really complain either. I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, all their themes are by CFO money, and they fucking kick ass. So I really have no complaints. His third question was, what do you think about the WWE roster back then compared to now? Wrestling-wise, I think this roster is probably the best it has ever been. When you have guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, all in the same fucking roster under the same WWE banner. It doesn't even come close. That being said, though, in terms of characters, by and large, when you go back, I mean, you said back then, so I don't know what you're talking about, but even the Attitude Era, the 80s, even the Ruthless Aggression era, I feel like the characters were above and beyond much more special than they are now. We don't really have many stars. I mean, even back then, D'Lo Brown, not a great wrestler, but the guy had a character. People gave a shit about him. He came across more like a star than half the roster today does. You know what I mean? So the wrestling is there. It's just more so making people out to feel special. I don't know if that's overexposure, or it has, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with size. Just because they're not fucking 7 foot tall like The Undertaker, Kane, or Hulk Hogan, or whoever, that doesn't make them any less of a star. I mean, look at CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Rollins, so on and so forth. That has really very little to do with it, in my opinion. It's just more so how WWE presents these people in the fucking 50-50 booking and that whole, tirade that have gone on a million times before. Emmanuel A., also from YouTube, back when Sasha Banks won the Women's Championship for the first time, I asked if it was too soon or if the WWE was just catching up to where they should have been with the division, and you were puzzled by what the latter meant. Basically, everyone who was waiting for the Revolution to get to the good part, and then I assumed when Sasha initially went on Raw instead of at SummerSlam, it would mean that we had reached the good part quicker than expected. I guess I'm going back to this now because after recent events, it seems like a good time to ask, are we at the good part now? I think so. When you say the Revolution, I assume you're talking about the Divas Revolution. Yes, the bad part was the fucking 6-woman tag team matches and all that other shit, and the whole baby brother thing with Paige and Charlotte, which was fucking awful. This is what people were waiting for. I remember when that revolution of sorts, whatever they wanted to call it, when they were shoving that term down our throats, first started. I wrote an article for Bleacher Report saying that Charlotte and Sasha would be at some point the first ever women's match in the main event, or first women's main event on Raw in a year or, fucking decade or whatever it had been at that point. And I was right. I mean, it took longer than expected, but we're finally there. I feel like we might have reached the good part and we're kind of past that peak now that Charlotte and Banks is over, and now we're going to be in a lull for a little while because Bayley is not yet ready to win that belt back. I feel like we might get back to where we were with the division a couple months from now after they build Bayley back up and Charlotte can have a real lengthy reign as champion and they don't do fucking hot potato with the belt again, which annoyed me beyond belief, which I'll also talk about in a couple minutes. But I feel like it might be a while before we get back to that part. For now, though, I feel like the wrestling in the division has been better than it has ever been in years and years and years. So we can complain about this and that and whatever, but I will take this version of the women's division in WWE, not the Divas division that we had even 5 years ago. Frankishire 15, fantasy booking, but how cool would it be if The Miz was revealed to be the 5th team member and be the sole survivor for his team? So I assume you're talking about Raw. I don't like that idea. I know some people are pitching that on Twitter, on social media, you included. Last week, I do not like that idea. I think The Miz is made for SmackDown. That's really the only reason why he's been getting the push that he has. I mean, also in addition to his talent on the mic and in the ring and all that other kind of shit as a character. But if you know for a fact that if he was on Raw, he'd be doing the same exact shit that he'd been doing for the last 5 fucking years. In the mid-card, doing Miz TV, not really wrestling and all that other shit. He feels like a real, genuine star on the Blue brand. Why ruin that by bringing him to Raw? I would not do that. I would not put him on Team Raw. I mean, I think it's a shame that he's not on Team SmackDown, but I hope he's doing something at the pay-per-view, whether it be costing, Sami Zayn or Dolph Ziggler that match for the IC title. I don't know, but he should be at the show. But I do not want him going to Raw by any means. I feel like it'd be very counterproductive for him. His second question: will this new Cruiserweight show on the WWE Network be like a Sunday Night Heat with lower card wrestlers? No, or at least I hope not. The Sunday Night Heat comparison I would use for like main event or superstars. People love Sunday Night Heat, but it was it's basically what the pre-show is now. There's really no difference other than the name. Superstars is what Heat used to be. You just throw the undercard guys on there that weren't on Raw every week. I mean, sure, at one point, did they further storylines on Heat? Yeah, many years ago. But towards the end, it's basically, like I said, what Heat and Velocity became were what main event and superstars are now. So there's really no difference. No, I really hope that the Sunday Night Heat really had no storyline progression. I'm hoping that this new WWE 205 live show is going to be a progression of the storylines that we already have on Raw with these guys. More wrestling. I hope it's more along the lines of what the Cruiserweight Classic was many months ago, which was the best wrestling program of 2016 by far. Captain Sunshine from YouTube as well. Is it me, or does Mick Foley have a weird relationship with Hell in a Cell? First, he gets ecstatic about the women doing a match inside the cell. Then he yells that they should not worry about being in the cell. And then he berates Team Kevin and Chris for making a mockery of the cell. Man, he's got some serious Stockholm syndrome for a cage with a roof in it. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird relationship. I mean, there's not really much more I can say other than that between Mick Foley and the Hell in the Cell. He loves it, the women being in it. And then he, yells about it, how dangerous it is, and all this other stuff. It's just, I don't know. I feel like Mick Foley was married to the Hell in a Cell at one point, and he had some estranged relationship with Satan's structure. I don't know. That's just the way that it comes across. Amanda 450 Splash from YouTube. Outside of the Intercontinental Championship, do you see any championships being defended at Survivor Series? Obviously not the 2 world titles, not the U.S. title. Cruiserweight Championship I could see. I could see them doing a multi-man match, which you have the division for it anyway, so I don't see why you wouldn't do that. But it's still possible. Tag titles, no, for either brand. And that's really it, right? I mean, the 2 world titles, the 2 mid-card titles, the IC title's already being defended. The 2 women's titles aren't being defended. So, no, maybe the Cruiserweight Championship, but that would be about it. Second question, who on the Raw roster do you see challenging Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series? So as I've said, on Twitter, or I think on the Cruise Control podcast, I know I've said this a bunch of times in recent days, but it's got to be Sami Zayn. Really. When you look at the roster on Raw, who could it be? Who could it really be? I don't want to see it be The Miz, as some people pointed out. That would be just a complete waste to bring Miz to Raw. They'll probably blow off that feud in the ladder match at TLC, which I feel like would be, I'm in full favor of. I said that days ago. I would love to see that match at TLC. Don't waste it at Survivor Series at this point. Just hold out. It's got to be Sami Zayn. He's not on the card as of right now. What other match could he have? I mean, I could see Rusev, but we already saw Ziggler and Rusev a bunch of fucking times. I don't care about Rusev and Ziggler at this point. That was one of the worst, if not the worst feud of 2015 by far. So, yeah, I do not want to see Rusev challenge for that belt at Survivor Series. It's got to be Sami Zayn. I don't care if he wins, loses, whatever. I assume he will lose, but he'll look strong in defeat anyway. So it's got to be Sami Zayn. What are your thoughts on Bobby Fish winning Ring of Honor Survival of the Fittest tournament? I didn't even know he did. I had not read that anywhere. They didn't put it on TV. Maybe it was taped. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with the Survival of the Fittest tournament. I think it's one of their shows that they do, right? I'm not really sure. I think it's cool. I think Bobby Fish is really good. The only thing with Bobby Fish, kind of on a side note, that I'm kind of critical of right now is that I'm not really sure whether he's a babyface or a heel. Like in LOL, I know Donovan Dijak is from the Massachusetts area, obviously, but he got a way bigger response than Bobby Fish, who kind of comes across like a heel in his matches. So they got to fix that at some point. I don't know if he's turning on Kyle O'Reilly or what's up, but they got to fix that at some point. Or further clarify what kind of character he is. Also, with the Rumble winners being predictable since 2013 with John Cena, who do you think will win it in San Antonio? I mean, I think you guys asked me this a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, like right after SummerSlam. I mean, at that point, I said Finn Balor. My pick as of right now is still Finn Balor because there's no really other person that makes sense. I mean, maybe Rollins, but what are you going to do at WrestleMania? Rollins and Owens again? Is Triple H going to win the belt again? God forbid, like last year or this past year. I don't want to see that again. And then do Rollins and H for the belt. I don't really want to see that. I don't know. Like I said, Balor is really my only choice right now. I know. I don't want to see it be Cena. Fuck that. I know Cena wants a 16th championship. I'm even fine with him doing Styles and Cena at WrestleMania, but Cena does not need to win the fucking Royal Rumble for a third time. That is stupid. So hopefully it's someone like, like I said, a Balor who can make a surprise return. He's really the only one in my mind right now that comes to mind as the person who could win it. The first KFC, also from YouTube. Thoughts on Dana Brooke, rumored to be sleeping with someone in creative. I did not read that anywhere, so I don't know how true that is. I don't want to speak as if it's gospel, as if it's the truth. I have not heard that anywhere, read that anywhere, so I don't know where you got that from. I do remember hearing it at one point a year ago. I have no idea what happened with this, but I did hear someone say about a year ago that he was dating Dana Brooke, and they spent their Thanksgiving together, so I haven't heard anything about that since, so I don't think they're still seeing each other. I have no idea. But I don't think it's true. I think that's, I don't know. I know Dana Brooke sucks, but I'm not going to say that she's been sleeping with someone in creative. Otherwise, she'd be the champion by now. But I don't think that's a real rumor. I could be wrong. I don't think it's a real rumor, though. Should Alexa Bliss win the Women's Championship this Tuesday? No. I think Becky Lynch, she just won the belt. I know she got hurt and she was out for a month for a couple weeks. But it's way too soon to take the title off her. I could see Alexa winning. I could see a scenario where she wins and they give her the belt back at TLC. I hope we get some sort of non-finish to this match on Tuesday so they do build to like a women's tables match or a women's ladder match, which would be pretty sick at TLC. So I would love to see something like that. But I don't think she should win the belt as soon as Sunday. At some point, yes. This soon, probably not. I wouldn't be mad, but I think it's just way too early to end Becky's reign as champion. Mitch G's got a couple questions from YouTube as well. Got a lot of YouTube questions this week. You guys are great. So his first question was, I've heard rumors that whichever brand wins a majority of the matches at Survivor Series will receive 3 draft picks from the losing show. If true, who would be your picks for the brand you want to win? Mine are Neville, Bayley, and Chris Jericho. I have not heard that rumor. Again, a lot like the Dana Brooke thing. That one was a little bit more scandalous than this one, but I have not heard this either, and I hope it's not true. I don't really need to see 3 people switching brands. I want to see some people switch shows. I feel like there's a lot more people from Raw I want to see on SmackDown than vice versa. But I would love to see SmackDown win. I think SmackDown should win. Well, let's say in a hypothetical scenario here that we get 3 draft picks. I don't really want to see this happen, but I could see a scenario where it could happen. If this rumor is true, to add stakes, make the stakes higher for the match than they would be otherwise. Other than just bragging rights. But anyway, on Team SmackDown or on the SmackDown brand, I would love to see Sami Zayn. That's beyond my number 1. Neville, I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one. I think Bayley's fine on Raw. She just needs more direction. The SmackDown Women's Division is fine anyway. So Neville, Sami, and Cesaro. Cesaro should have been on SmackDown from the start. His next question, have you seen the movie Trolls yet? If not, I highly recommend it. No. I thought it was a kid's movie, just purely... I saw Finding Dory, and that was more of a family-friendly movie, which I thought was really good. Not as nearly as good as the original, but still pretty good. If you highly recommend it, I might have to check it out at some point if it's that good. I have yet to see any reviews on it, but if you think it's good, then I might have to check it out at some point. My girlfriend's coming up this weekend, so maybe we'll go see it together on Friday or Saturday if it's that good as you say. Should the SmackDown or Raw Women's Championship be defended inside the Elimination Chamber in February? You know what? I would love to see that happen. I think it's a lot less predictable than the fucking world titles being defended inside the fucking chamber again. So, yeah, I would love to see one of the women's titles be defended inside the chamber. You talked about the IC chamber a little bit later on, but when that was a massive train wreck. But anyway, so yeah, we have yet to see the women inside the chamber. I would rather see the women in the chamber than in a Money in the Bank ladder match, which I feel like has a lot more potential to be just completely awful than this. So yeah, I would not be opposed to that actually for either brand. Their next question, Mitch's next question, do you think CM Punk was ever seriously considered to win the 2014 Royal Rumble match, given he was pushed prominently leading up to it? He was one of the people I thought could win it. I know talking about it on this very show as a possibility that he could win. Obviously, everyone's number 1 pick was either Batista or Daniel Bryan. CM Punk was a dark horse. I don't think he was ever, considered to win. I think I remember reading a report that they were thinking about he could win. But I know you said he was being pushed at that point, and he was. But that was only to set up a match with Triple H. The plan from November onward had been to do CM Punk and Triple H at WrestleMania. I don't think there were ever any plans like the night before, we're going to switch to Batista to do Punk as the Rumble winner going into WrestleMania. I would have loved to have seen that. Just to get him back in title contention before he left. But it didn't happen. It might have been rumored many months in advance before Batista was even, rumored to be coming back. But I don't think it was ever, seriously considered. I know I thought about it, and it would have made sense. He was number 1 anyway, but, from the moment they inked Batista to come back, he was their, he was their penciled-in winner, nearly Sharpied-in winner to win the Rumble that year. Never really Daniel Bryan, and especially CM Punk. Keep or erase SmackDown's Elimination Chamber from 2010 or the Chamber match from 2013? Good question. I've watched the Chamber match from 2010 only once, a couple months ago for WrestleRant. Other than that, I've not seen it many times. Same thing, I guess, with the 2013 one. I watched that live and again on the network a few months ago, also for WrestleRant. The 2013 one was actually really good. I'll have to go with the 2010 one just because the finish was phenomenal. Both matches were really good. The 2013 one, I was shocked Swagger won. It didn't make any sense to me at the time. It doesn't make any sense to me now. I know they wanted to push him, but no one fucking cared about the guy. And he got a Dewey anyway, so that fucked over his chances of becoming a main eventer again before the push even started. So I got to go with the 2010 one. Now, the match itself was really good. Morrison, R-Truth, and there's some fresh faces. CM Punk, Rey Mysterio, Undertaker, and Chris Jericho. And the finish was, again, like I said, phenomenal. With the Phenom, no pun intended. With Shawn Michaels coming in. Oh, sweet chin music. Jericho with his jaw on the ground, pinning Taker to win the world title. Fucking phenomenal. So I got to go with that one and erase the SmackDown Chamber from 2013. Do you think on paper that the Intercontinental Championship Chamber match could have been good? And if yes, in your opinion, why did it fail? I was looking forward to it because, like I said, I think up to that point, we had never seen a chamber match for anything other than a World Heavyweight or WWE title. The tag team one was better, but still not great. The IC one, again, on paper, it had potential. You had some good workers in there. You had R-Truth that could not have given two shits about. I don't know why he was in there and Bray Wyatt wasn't, but anyway. You had Wade Barrett, Ryback, you had Dolph Ziggler, I think Rusev got hurt, and Mark Henry, of all people, got in there. So that was doomed to fail from the get-go, because Mark Henry was a loser even at that point. The chamber match fucked up. I think Sheamus was in there too. Just the eliminations were stupid. R-Truth pinned Wade Barrett, which was ridiculous, coming off his King of the Ring win, which was so stupid. And then it came, I don't know, just people did not give a shit. The crowd sucked that night for anything but Cena and Raw. I mean, I take that back. The main event for Rollins and Ambrose, they were pretty hot for too. But that match just, if it was one botch, I get it. But Mark Henry's chamber broke. Sheamus came in way too early. It was just, that match sucked. That match was awful. But again, so I think there was just, if it was one thing, okay, but there were just so many things wrong with that match. Like I said, the chamber malfunctioning and Rusev getting hurt, so they had to put Mark Henry in there of all people. Barrett getting pinned by R-Truth. Just no one gave a shit. And it was such a bad way for Ryback to win his first and only championship in this company. But yeah, that's why it failed. Just so many things wrong with it. If it was one thing, I get it, but there were just so many things wrong. It was just no coming back from that. It was at the point of no return at that point. Next set of questions from Brandon A. Do you think the Survivor Series crowd will turn on Goldberg? He ended Brett's career, and Lesnar is currently living in Canada and represented Canada in his UFC 200 fight. Yeah, there's a pretty good possibility he will be booed. I hope that's not the case, because I think Goldberg has been pretty popular since coming back. Lesnar should win anyway, but yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance. I'm not saying he will be booed, but I'm saying there could be a very vocal part of that audience that is only cheering Lesnar, not cheering Goldberg at all. Next question, is Ty Dillinger also in danger of being booed at TakeOver? Although he is from Canada, Rude is specifically from Toronto. Will this hurt Dillinger's momentum if it does happen? I know Amanda asked this last week. I think now that you mentioned that, I think there's a better chance of Bobby Roode getting cheered louder than Dillinger, but it doesn't mean that Dillinger is going to be booed. I mean, he is from Canada, so he's not going to be booed. He might get cheered a little less than Rude, but he won't be booed. No rhyme intended there, by the way. Next question from Brandon. If the above things end up happening, is it safe to say that the Canadian smart crowds are getting in their own way for events to be booked in their country? Does this give the WWE the excuse to stay in the U.S. and just utilize the cities like Chicago, NY, or New York, Los Angeles, Philly, Detroit, etc., more if they want lively crowds? No, I mean, this is the first WWE pay-per-view in Canada since 2009. They should be lucky. They should be lucky that WWE, that this company should be blessed. They should be so thankful that they have crowds as passionate, as Canada, as New York, as Chicago, all these other quote-unquote smarky cities. Be happy that you have crowds that give a shit in 2016. I would much rather have an annoying crowd that shits all over a show, which isn't always a good thing, of course. But I would much rather have a crowd like that than a crowd that sits on their hands and does nothing, because it kills my excitement for the match. I'd rather be, a little bit annoyed than just completely bored if they're just sitting on their hands the entire time. So I don't care what they end up doing in Canada. Canada is a great crowd. I know there's a lot of you guys listening to this that are from Canada. You guys are awesome. Your crowds are always great. You guys have long deserved a WWE pay-per-view in Canada. I know we had one with Roadblock, which was a live special, not really a pay-per-view. And that was also really good. So I'm looking forward to it. Cheer and boo whoever the fuck you want. I don't care who's from Canada, who's not. Just, it's going to be good to have a crowd that is lively. I was in Boston for Hell in a Cell. That was a good show, a good crowd, but nothing compares to Canada other than like Chicago and New York, etc. Just, the company should be happy. They have crowds as passionate as they are for their product at a time when so few people are, still passionate about this company, about the product as they are. At Thomas_B96 from Twitter. I need to speed it up here. I don't have much time left. Do you think Daniel Bryan is worthy of the WWE Hall of Fame? I said this months ago when he first retired. I think so. I think he is absolutely worthy. He is a former tag team, Intercontinental, United States, Money in the Bank, WWE World Heavyweight Champion multiple times. So, of course, in my opinion, he is He is a future WWE Hall of Famer. At Sean Markistic, got a couple questions here. If it was up to you, who would win the women's tag and male competitors elimination matches at Survivor Series? So for I'd have the tag team won by SmackDown, the women's one won by Raw, and the main male match won by SmackDown. So I think SmackDown gets... You can't have a clean sweep for SmackDown, so I think Raw has to win one. It should be the women's one, because they have more star power anyway on the Raw brand, if Sasha Banks even competes. For the, last remaining competitors, for the women's, Bayley and Charlotte, I would say, or at least maybe just... it should not be just Charlotte, but I would put Bayley in there too. For the male match, if it's going to be SmackDown, maybe AJ and Corbin, I think could be pretty cool. I want Corbin to get a rub. It probably won't be Corbin, but maybe just Styles, or maybe Styles and Ambrose. I don't know, but I could see either one of those combinations coming out on top at Survivor Series. Push, repackage, and release Bray Wyatt, The Miz, and Baron Corbin. Great question. So I did push Baron Corbin, because I think he deserves a bigger push than what he's getting right now. This is tough because I love The Miz, but I got to repackage Wyatt and release The Miz. Now, I know Miz is doing the best work of his career right now, but I would release him because he's been there before. He's a former world champion. He's done everything there is to do. There's a lot more possibilities with a younger Wyatt and a younger Corbin than there is The Miz. So that's why I'd release Miz, push Corbin, and repackage Wyatt into a babyface. Next question, who should accept Dolph Ziggler's open challenge at Survivor Series? Like I already said, Sami Zayn. At Brad Berdar from Twitter as well. Who do you think will lose their titles first, The New Day or Heath Slater and Rhino? Good question. I think TLC is before Roadblock. I do think that The New Day are dropping the belts right after they break the record at Roadblock, which I think is, like I said, after TLC. But I don't think Slater and Rhino are dropping the belts at TLC. And maybe to the Usos in like a triple threat tag team ladder match with American Alpha. That'd be fucking amazing. But, I don't think they'll drop the belts first. I think New Day is bound to drop the belts before they will, surprisingly enough. Will Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt aligning turn out to be the best thing for both men that they have done in a long time? It could be, if it's done right. I don't think they are aligning. I think it's just temporary before Orton turns on one of them, before he turns on the family, making Bray Wyatt look like an idiot again after the same thing happened with Daniel Bryan, years ago. But, I think it's good for right now. Better than the hocus pocus bullshit with the whole fucking, you see me, now you don't, all that other garbage. It's good, but I don't see it lasting long. Next question. Which of these Survivor Series tag team matches are you most looking forward to? The main male match, I think above all else. All the matches, I think all three matches have potential. I'm looking forward to all three. But the one I'm looking forward to the most, definitely the main male match. I think it has a lot of star power. Corbin gets a rub. Braun Strowman gets a rub. You got AJ, Dean, hopefully Rollins, Roman Reigns, Jericho, all these other guys. Wyatt, Orton, that's a lot of fucking star power. So I'm looking forward to that one the most. And looking forward to seeing who wins, too. Do you think WWE's decision to have Nikki Bella captain the women's SmackDown team as opposed to Becky Lynch may just be the worst one they have made all year? So I don't think it's the worst decision they made all year. They've made a lot of bad decisions this year. It's not the worst, but I don't even know if it's up there. It is a little silly. Maybe they thought Becky Lynch wouldn't be 100% by Survivor Series because she was hurt, around the time they made the decision. I think she actually came back when they made Nikki Bella team captain. Anyway, no, I don't have Becky should be the team captain. That just makes the most sense to me. But it's not like the worst decision they've ever made. Let's be realistic here. As NXT dropped the ball a bit with Ember Moon, she had a huge amount of buzz after her debut, after her debut, but she has been barely used since. Not really. She's been winning matches. Should she be on TV more often? Sure. But she hasn't lost or anything. She's not challenging for the title the next show anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. For some reason, I think she will be on the show this upcoming week. I think she might be doing something at TakeOver. I'm not sure. And people are looking forward to seeing what she brings, but I think it's only a slow ascent. She got a big debut in Brooklyn, but she is being kind of slowly, progressively coming along with each win that she gets, as each week passes. At Swagzio, I got mere minutes left here, so I got to speed through it. It's going to be a speed round for the rest of your questions here. Sorry, guys. I apologize. But at Swagzio, what is one feud that needs to happen in 2017? AJ Styles and Finn Balor, #book it, sign me the fuck up. Push, repackage, release. This is a great question. Asuka, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. So this is what I would do. I would push Bayley, Repackage Banks into a heel and release Asuka. Now, you might burn me at the stake for that, but the reason why I say that is because I think between Bayley and Asuka, both are amazing. Asuka is the better wrestler, but I'd push Bayley just because Asuka, in my personal opinion, and I might be biased because I love Bayley, I just think Bayley long-term is more marketable than Asuka. With the headbands, the shirts, the lunchboxes, the wristbands, all that other shit, Asuka's got her masks, which are marketable, but I think Bayley's going to be the bigger star, be the biggest star the women's division has ever seen in years and years and years. So I'd push her, repackage Banks, and release Asuka. At Big Bird 432, do you think Big E can still be a main eventer once the New Day splits? Maybe on SmackDown. I don't know about on Raw. I know at one point on this show many years ago, I was very high on Big E as a future main eventer. At this point, it's going to be hard to scrap that goofy image, but it's still possible. You never know. I think there is a chance, but I wouldn't bank on it, though. Definitely not on Raw. Maybe on SmackDown if he gets drafted next year, but definitely not on Raw. At Abby VX, her question was, least favorite Survivor Series match. This is a no-brainer for me. Other than, I can't remember. I mean, I was going to say something from last year, but last year's show sucked. Survivor Series 2013, I'm sorry, but it was far worse. That show sucked. That was in Boston. Thank God he did not go. I almost went, but I didn't. That main event was the worst match, one of the worst matches I've ever seen. Not only my least favorite Survivor Series match, but one of my least favorite matches, period, ever. And I've said this before. Big Show versus Randy Orton. Just a putrid match for the WWE Championship. Just fucking awful. The crowd shit all over it. That was absolutely atrocious. I am sorry. So that, by far, is my least favorite Survivor Series match ever. At E13A, would you trust Vince McMahon with match commentary if you were blind? I know I got that question last week, and I said Mauro Ranallo. Would I trust Vince McMahon with commentary if I was blind? No. It would just be, oh my, and Michael Cole, or what a maneuver, and all that other kind of shit. I did not like Vince as a commentator. I think you guys know that. I've said that here before on the show. I did not like Vince as a commentator, and watching back old pay-per-views. I just was not a fan. So no, I would not trust him with match commentary if I was blind. At Mr. Singleton 16, who do you really want as commentators for Raw and SmackDown? I think the commentary teams now are fine. I'd get rid of JBL. I want just 2 people on each show. I don't think you need 3. Saxton, I'm just not a fan of. I don't really care too much about Otunga. He's not terrible. I like him more than Saxton, but whatever. I would put Ranallo and Graves. I don't know. I think Ranallo and Graves are a dream team, but you got to spread the love. I think you got to have one guy on one show and the other on the other. You know what I mean? But I would love to see Ranallo and Graves on SmackDown. I think Tom Phillips deserves another shot, another one of the shows. So I don't know. I'm saying get rid of Cole and all this other shit. I don't know. But I think you should. I think Ranallo is. I think he's great on SmackDown. I would just get rid of JBL. He's just not good anymore. He can be when he wants to be, but just not anymore. So I don't know what my exact teams would be. I think right now what we have isn't awful, but the primary change I would make is dwindle it down to 2 people on each show: Cole and Graves, and then Ranallo and JBL, or just I don't know, Ranallo and JBL, or Ranallo and Otunga, or Ranallo and Tom Phillips. I think he's another play-by-play guy. I don't know. But I would do that over what we have right now. I'm not a fan of the 3-man booths, if you couldn't tell. At the 1-2-3 egg, are the Dusty Rhodes Classic semifinals this year underwhelming? I mean, I don't know if they were any more underwhelming than last year. We had fucking the Revival, who at that time no one really knew. Let's be honest. And we also had, what was it? I mean, last year's semifinals were a bit better, so I will say they are more underwhelming than last year, but they're still not terrible in my opinion. They could be better, but they're not terrible. Why do you think both of Sasha Banks' title reigns started on Raw and immediately ended at the next pay-per-view? This was never any long-term booking plan. These people just don't know what the fuck they want to do. Oh, let's put this belt on Sasha early, not do it at the pay-per-view. Let's take the title right off of her. We'll change our minds the day before the show. It's just so stupid. And the feud is just the whole hot potato with the fucking title changing. It's awful. It's oh my God. Let's keep the belt on one person. I know it's Attitude Era booking, but I'm not a fan. So, I don't know. I think it's just because they couldn't make up their fucking minds. This was never the long-term plan. Don't be mistaken with that for a second. At Scarlet One, we'll finish up with 3 questions here. First one being, what do you think is the end game for the Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton alliance/feud? A match. Really, I don't think it's a long-term alliance or a long-term tag team. It's a match. Orton going over before going into the title picture. I don't think it really helps Wyatt at all. unless the match is good, which I hope it is, because their No Mercy match was a bore. I thought it was all right. I enjoyed it, but mostly it was kind of boring for a lot of people. So I think it is, the end game is a match at TLC, or maybe even beyond that, maybe at Royal Rumble or something. What have you generally heard about the In Your House pay-per-views? They were great. I mean, I'll probably be watching them. I don't know if I've said this on WrestleRant yet, but I'll probably be watching / reviewing them at the onset of 2017. So I'll look forward to that, but I look forward to watching them because I've heard nothing but good things. They're shorter, they're consistent. Like, I'll be watching one from the other, and they're happening right after another, so they all make sense. But yeah, I've heard that they're all really good, and they should bring them back because they're all shorter. They're kind of like the live specials that we've had in recent years with Roadblock and all the other ones that they've done. Beast in the East, WW and MSG, all that other kind of stuff. And final question, how do you think this year's fall season in wrestling has been holding up so far? I was thinking about this. I don't want to say, the fall is the reason why, the past couple of Raws haven't been good, or the overall product, or the overall product has felt stale. But really, when you think about it, I've said this before, but the fall is by far the worst season for wrestling because it's always dull. They just roll over and die when football comes back, and football isn't even doing all that great either, ratings-wise. So that's not really an excuse. Football happens every year, so it's not anything new. But, overall, Raw really hasn't changed too much. I'd rather have Raw during the brand split than whatever we had months ago with rematch after rematch after rematch of the same fucking matches in both shows. So Raw really is, it's slightly better, but not by much. SmackDown has been killing it. So I can't say the overall wrestling season has been a flop, but SmackDown's been great. NXT's doing better. Ring of Honor's all right. Lucha's been doing good. So I can't really say the fall season's been bad. Just for Raw, Raw always falls falls off a fucking cliff. Every single fall, it's just, they just roll over and die, and they put in zero effort into their shows. So hopefully that ends around the Royal Rumble time. We can only hope. And they start picking up the pace again once Balor's back and people start coming back from injuries and shit like that. So again, fingers crossed, we can only hope. So that does it, guys. Went a little bit longer than I thought I would, but got to do what I got to do to answer your illustrious questions right here on the show. And hashtag AskGSM. If you want to send in a question, make sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on the Facebook page as well at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights or on the wall itself. And last and certainly not least, like I said earlier, a lot of YouTube questions today. Really easy. Just scroll down the page, go to the comment section on this very video, drop your comment down below, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. Just that easy. So that being said, guys, next week is, I think, the go-home show before Survivor Series, believe it or not. And for TakeOver, it's going to be a big week. Like I said, Girlfriend's coming up this weekend. We got TakeOver and Survivor Series the weekend after that. I got NXT Boston. I'll be there with RJ next Thursday. Not this Thursday, but 10 days from now. So it's going to be a busy month. Can't wait for it. So all that being said, guys, enjoy Raw tonight. Have an amazing week. I'm Graham Matthews, and I'll catch you fine folks down the road.